I hear it
Sometimes.
every day.
You hear it every day?
Just saying, guys, I do.
We complained when the market was tight, we didn't have a lot to sell, okay? Now we have all these people that want to sell, the interest rates are low, the builders can't get the money because they haven't had the inventory. So now it's a perfect opportunity to sell. I'm selling my house. I'm doing a build job, but I won't dare put my house on the market because I know it's gonna sell like that, and I don't wanna go into temporary housing. And just when you said that, I'm thinking, I've created that amount. Agents in this office say, aren't you gonna sell for it? Let me know, I can sell you. No, because I have nowhere to go. I've already told myself, I have nowhere to go because my house won't be ready till January.
Can y'all relate to that?
That's
What?
based on rational, delusional versus optimistic. So I wanted you to get around that you can't just, maybe you can, I don't know, just keep talking.
So let me ask you, if, what could happen if we became aware of that conversation and we switched it? We weren't so quick to reinforce and jump in.
What if you were so optimistic that you said, well, I can sell my house and somebody's gonna let me stay in it until the house is built?
There you go.
Like it, Johnny.
I mean, it's so great out here that people will let me do anything I want because they want my house so bad.
When you talk
I
like
love
that, even imagine that, can you share with us how it makes you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel like that, you know, basically that anything's doable out there, you know, that there's all sorts of opportunities because there may be. And there probably is. It's whether, are you gonna find that person? And you're not gonna find that person if you don't put it out there.
What do you think about that?
Me or her? I think that he makes a really valid point. It's like you want to be intelligent, make smart decisions, and evaluate the world around you, and see, and then navigate and make smart choices. And sometimes those smart choices can be negative and self-perpetuating. And so you have to be aware that perhaps you're creating the rationalization, as you said, as I was saying. And again, it makes me nervous that I can be so positive and so, awesome in my brain that it scares me. That am I just like jumping off a cliff and thinking I can fly? You know what I mean?
There are physical limitations. There are. I'm not encouraging you to get on the building and flap your hands real fast and think you're going to fly. There is some reality to that. But where do we scare ourselves to death by looking ahead, and through that conversation we fear ourselves out of not taking the risk or the step or the... Does that make sense? Where are you doing that?
And along those lines, people have come before you, and the market has been like this before. And it's all in your approach to it. If I've never had anybody on the street in 30 years, I don't think your client's going to be on the street. You'll figure something out. You'll find them something. They may have to have a little adjustment of what their expectations are, but there's a solution if you take the right attitude and say, the first thing we have to do is get your house under contract, because if you don't have your house under contract, you can't buy anything in this market. Nobody's going to accept an offer. So use that approach.
I think it's also a value when you go to these meetings that y'all have the opportunity to go to and learn from others in whatever they're doing, just to hear their experience. I can borrow their experience. I don't have to wait till I've had all those years of it. But I need to see self doing it. You can't just go and intellectualize those meetings. Okay, I know, fill in the blank, fill in this, I know why. And know a bunch of experiences of why. You've got to see self doing it, just like when you're selling those homes. They can't see somebody else living in that home. They got to see self living in that home. Experiential imagery. Yes?
I was just going to say a good example would be maybe Mr. Sterling really didn't want to sell the Clippers, and I'm not going to sell the Clippers. Oh, you'll offer me $2 billion? Oh, maybe I will sell the Clippers. So it's just a...
He's driving.
Maybe she would be willing to move into temporary housing, but at what price? So it's all about everybody coming out on a winning situation.
Well, and my comment was, let's be aware of it. I think we need to be aware of what we're saying, too. I remember we created a buyer's market out of this office when there wasn't one. remember?
Say that again.
Creating.
We created a buyer's market out of this office when there wasn't one. Y'all remember that?
We eliminated the flood of foreclosures because
We did. We got after it. We're doing it now on the listing side.
And we also created from open houses, all the buyers that we can pick up. Because I used to say, oh, I hate doing open houses, I never get anybody, they're just tire kickers. Took a course with Fran Hoover 2 years ago, and I
Longer
closed
than that, Fran.
since
It's been
Jan-
4.
Longer than that? Since January to now, I made $110,000 off open houses.
Just off
Commissions.
the open. Has your attitude shifted when it comes to?
Oh, I love open houses, they're the greatest things since sliced bread.
So listen, if you haven't been doing some of this, or if your thinking has been a little stinking, don't beat yourself up over it.
No.
And just acknowledge, hey, you know what, that's where I was then, no more. All right, and you control the self-talk to be uplifting, and you start looking at where you're blinding self versus liberating self. That's really it. Okay, I wrote it down here, I just remembered the downward spiral. Okay? It seems like anytime you combine these three thought patterns of worthlessness, hopelessness, and hostility, you get into what, this comes out of Harvard Medical School. Worthlessness, hopelessness, and hostility leads to one being in a downward spiral, often modeled in these behaviors. Inactivity, exhaustion. It's like someone will get up at 10 o'clock and they're exhausted until they get to the couch. They're in this downward spiral. So let me break these down. Worthless. It's not like I'm worthless, but I'm worth less than I was before. Maybe you lost an account that you've been working on for a long time, so now I feel worth less than I did before. A kid goes to class, gets the feedback, they didn't do very well on the test, they conclude I'm worth less than I was before. I was in a relationship, it didn't work out. I could feel worth less than I did prior to the relationship. Does that make sense? Hopeless. It isn't like I'm hopeless, but maybe it's the third time I've gotten that test grade. I could conclude if I'm the kid, it's hopeless. I'm not going to be able to pick up math. Does that make sense? It's not hopeless, it's just hope less than it was before because I've now gotten this feedback 3 times. Or maybe I go and I'm trying to get another client, but they just signed with Every Holiday, and they were a friend of mine. That's the second one that was a friend of mine, and I could conclude it's hope less than it was before with some of my friends. You see what I'm doing here? Break them down. The third is hostility. Now, there are places that could be physically hostile. You may not want to be by yourself at night. Let's say if you're downtown in Dallas, something. But you know what? Hostile could be anywhere you think people are out to get you or not on your team or not on your side. And if there's not real hostility when you're in this state of mind, you will manufacture hostility. You'll create what they call phantasms. Remember when you were a kid at home by yourself? You didn't like staying at home by yourself at night and there was a storm? And then you start hearing all the creaks and the cracks in the house. And then you don't know it, but you hear the limb hitting the screen. And you swear what?
It's real.
Isn't
Somebody's
it
there.
amazing how loud your heart is beating? I mean, it sounds like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you now hear them in the house, and you hear them all the way walking into your room with that knife.
Yeah.
As real as real.
Yeah.
You manufacture. That's what happens when you're in this state of mind. If there's not real hostility in the marketplace or in the environment you're in, you will manufacture it. When you hold these 3 thought patterns at the same time. You're stunned in activity. You get into this yeah but. They yeah but you to death. Because you start thinking about, look, it's going to be okay. There's so many other fish in the sea. Teenagers, they break up out of a relationship after 2 weeks. Oh my gosh! Oh, I lost him. He was the best ever. Are you kidding? There's so many others. That guy's a jerk. He's an idiot. And they go, yeah, but he was so great. Yeah, but he was, oh yeah, but. You've been there? That's no different than when you got an elder who's lost a spouse. And you try to say, come on, I want you to come back and be involved. We're going to keep living. And you start giving them all the evidence. It's going to be all right. And they yeah, but you. Yeah, but. Yeah, but. Yeah, but. Just know you're going to hit it when you're in this downward spiral. Stunned inactivity. And then they start thinking the world of authority expects too much of them. Like I used to, looking in our garage. I look at the world of authority saying, clean it up. Oh my gosh. You ever been there? When you're in this worthlessness, hopelessness, hostility mindset, and then it's like a deer in headlights syndrome. When you're in this state of mind, it's like, just get off the road, get out of the traffic. And they're like stunned inactivity. Whack. When you're in this worthlessness, hopelessness, hostility. You ever been there? What I was sharing with you today are some tools to get in that upward spiral. Once you break, we've all been in this state. This is what Harvard shows us. At least once every 12 months, average human being would just go through a downward spiral state. We just get quick to recognize it, so it's temporal. And what we want to do is, with our self-talk, control this emotional response. Now, here's the catch. Sometimes people that are in that state, you gotta let them bottom out. Unfortunately. Unfortunately, because they won't see it. So what do you think is through their reticular activating system when they're in a downward spiral? What do you think is through their awareness? Only information that validates the mindset. So everything that's worthlessness, hopelessness, the market, you follow? To validate my state of being. So, why is this essential? We've got so much knowledge now about our physiological response, psychological response, and then results that you see getting attained when you start controlling how you're thinking. That's what I was sharing with you today. Hopefully it gives you some tools. I'll be back. We'll get into some deeper conversation. And I appreciate you. Now, you've all heard this before. Love thyself like
Thy neighbor.
thy neighbor. See, you'll find most people do, and that's the problem. I want you to have a new appreciation or an enhanced appreciation today of why it's essential that you really love and appreciate self. Because when you do, it just becomes a magnetic presence about you. People come into your environment, friends or foe, it doesn't matter. If you have that view, you love on them. I don't mean love on them like, I mean care. Just care. And if you'll do that, just watch how your world responds. Can y'all try that? Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.